Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Stacey Ashley, and I am so excited because this is episode 1 of my summer series. And the summer series is all about giving you the opportunity to be ready for 2021. And by that, what I mean, there are 3 things that I'm going to focus on. There is the whole rest and rejuvenation that we all need. Then there's reflection to take the learning and celebration out of 2020. And finally, it's about setting you up with a clear pathway into 2021 with purpose and possibility. So welcome if you're live. I'm super excited that you're here and that you're sharing episode 1 with me. I'm going to be going live twice a week. That's my, and then that'll be on Wednesday morning, Sydney time, and on Sunday afternoon, also, obviously, Sydney time. So I would love to know from you, are you already on holidays? And if you are, where are you? Are you able to actually go somewhere like the beach, or is it a homestay, a home staycation? Is that what they say? So I would love to just give you a little bit of background, I guess, on what led me to actually create the summer series so that I could support as many people and leaders as possible to get ready for 2021. So a little bit about me, I guess, as a starting point. And I should let you know that I'm aiming for about half an hour for this live. I'm not 100% sure, so we'll see how we go. And the idea is that I'm going to do a little bit of talking and teaching, but also I'm going to be giving you a little bit of coaching so you can look at how does this apply to me? How could I use it? And of course, this is not just for now. This is all about whenever you come off the back of some heavy, intensive change or heavy focus, or you've just been working, pretty solidly, and it's about getting ready for recovering from that and getting ready for the next thing that you're going to focus on, the next important thing. And so you can take these tips and tools and strategies away and use them again and again and again. So a little bit of background. What I noticed in the lead up to the holidays is a few things. I'm just going to check, my feed. I can see a few people are there, so great, welcome. And I'd love to hear from you to let me know, where are you, what's happening, and I'll be asking you a few questions as we go, so I would love for you to pop those comments in. If you're watching the recording, please pop your comments in as well. So welcome, Darren, great to see you there. So a little bit about me. I think I've been writing a few different kind of bios and that sort of thing this year because we all had to change the way that we presented ourselves because of the new virtual focus, which was much, much bigger than it had been in previous years. And so one of the things that I reflected on is that I think I led my very first team at about the age of 6 onto a stage. We all got stage fright, but that's a whole different other story. But my whole career, my sporting career, my school career, everything has been about leadership. And so I think that it was fairly natural for me to not only have a very big leadership professional career where I led sort of really significant change and transformation here in Australia and internationally, but that I would then go on to actually help to create and build more leaders who could be really effective at leading that change and transformation. Hey, Elizabeth, good to see you here again, and you're working. Okay. And many people are, not everyone's going to get a break over Christmas, but the idea is that you do get a break sometime. So take these ideas and store them up. So that's a little bit about me. And obviously I've been, for the last 15 years or so, I've been working with, some of Australia's leading brands to help to build that leadership capability that really does make a difference. So it's not just about people with titles, but people with real capability that can first lead themselves and lead their tribes and lead their world. Anyway, what I noticed in the lead up to this Christmas festive holiday period and break is that there seems to be an expectation that after the year that we've had, which, has been tremendous, there have been a lot of challenges. A lot of people have really amazingly stepped up and coped and done some terrific things and shown strength and resilience and all of that sort of thing. But what I've noticed is that there seems to be an expectation that if I can just hang on till a break, then it'll be fine. And then I'll come back next year and we'll just, we'll move on. And I don't really believe that that is a reasonable expectation. There are a couple of things. One is, yes, people are tired, but they're beyond tired. It's beyond the normal end of year tired. Many people are incredibly fatigued. And in my next episode, I'm going to talk about that and how to deal with it. But it's beyond normal fatigue and exhaustion from the end of the year. And so we have to do something that's more than our normal recovery process to actually get on top of that. The second thing is to think that we would go back to a fairly sort of static, stable situation. I think that what we've seen in 2020, of course, is very dynamic change, having to be incredibly reactive and responsive to a huge number of, changing conditions and factors. And so the way that I'm describing it is that 2020 was the sprint. 2021 is going to see the beginning of the marathon of transformation. And as leaders, people need to recognize that they're going to be leading transformation for years in response and as a consequence of the pandemic and the changes that have been created and initiated and accelerated by that. And so as leaders, what that means is we have a really clear responsibility to not only to lead that transformation, but to put ourselves in the best situation to be able to do that. And so that's what I want to do with this series, is give you some insights, give you some concepts that will allow you to really be able to perform at your best, to have your tank full and to know what to focus on after having had a rejuvenation over the holidays, and so that you set yourself and your team and your business up for success. Hey, Darren. So a business owner. Yeah, that's a pretty big set of demands at the moment. So good on you for tuning in. Thank you. So what I want to focus on in episode 1 is actually about the return to work. And it might seem strange to focus on the return to work when we haven't actually, hit even Christmas Day yet. I know many people are already on holidays. I'll be going on holidays tomorrow myself, but I think it's such an important thing to focus on getting yourself prepared to return to work. And let me tell you why. So a little while back, I was a productivity and performance consultant for a number of years, working primarily with really senior leaders. And that was all about getting them as efficient and effective as possible so that they made impact. They used their time and their energy and their focus and their wisdom really carefully and thoughtfully so that they would make the biggest impact. And the thing that invariably kind of brought that all undone was when they would take a break, then they would come back and they wouldn't have prepared for their break. And so they would come back and they would be just overwhelmed with information and email and meetings and stuff. And so that kind of undid all of the good work of being efficient and effective, but it also undid all the good of having a holiday. So in a very short space of time, the holiday was a distant memory and the mindset that went with the holiday was also a distant memory. And so what I want to do is to help you to prevent that. I want you to come back into a space that is one that you have decided to create, that's very comfortable and it's easy for you to return to work. So that's the objective of today. And if you don't do this kind of preparation, what happens is that when you come back, you do get like an avalanche of information. You do have a completely full, inbox of email, you're highly reactive because people are making demands on you, and you're still trying to catch up on what happened, and so you're sort of out of control within moments of the return to work. But if you get it right and you actually, really think about how you want to come back to work, and you do the preparation to return to work, that means that you return at a pace that suits you, that you actually have the time to catch up, and that you're in a much more proactive space rather than being hyper reactive to everything that's going on. So you're very much in control, and you choose where to focus your time and energy so that, again, you have the most impact. And because you're in control, you don't lose that kind of holiday re-energizing, that takes place. And so you kind of get the benefits of the holiday break for a longer period of time as well, which gives you the opportunity to be operating, at a much higher level for a longer period of time. Okay, so what I want to share with you, let me just pop this up. There are going to be 3 key things that we focus on today. And so I would love to know, I guess, while I'm putting that up, is this a thing for you when you come back from work, you're kind of overwhelmed and in a super reactive mode? Because I know it does happen to a lot of people. Okay, so in today's episode for Return to Work, what we're going to focus on is firstly the pre-holiday tidy up. The second thing we're going to focus on is actually having a plan on how you will catch up on your return. And the third thing is setting up any delegation or escalation that needs to be in place so you don't get interrupted while you are on holidays. Okay, so I'm just going to check that everything looks good. All right, so let me talk to you first about the tidy up. And I can see some comments coming in, so let me just check there. Okay, so the tidy up. It's really simple, and it's really important. So when you have a clean operating space, then it makes it much easier to focus and think and be creative and all of those things. When you have an out of control, kind of super messy, disorganized, cluttered space, it is more challenging to do those things. And by space, I mean the physical workspace, but also the digital workspace. So a couple of really simple things that I would encourage you to do. And so even if you have already gone on your break, if you don't want to come back to a mess, I would say put an hour aside and do some of these things, and just, it'll make the world of difference when you come back to work. So tidy up. If you're still at work, clear your workspace. Like, put things away that need to be put away, put things in the bin that need to be put in the bin, pass things on that need to be passed on to others. Declutter the space and file the important things that you need to keep. So if you actually have hard copy files, do that. In terms of email, do exactly the same thing. Use your key principles about processing your email, and let me just share these with you just in case you don't know them. I'm just going to share I'm hoping my iPad. Let me just see if it's kind of working. And it looks like maybe it isn't. So I'm just going to close that app, start again, and hopefully we will get some action. Just taking a little while to warm up. If it doesn't, I'll swap to my PowerPoint that I prepared earlier. Okay, a little bit of a delay, but I think we're good. So let me share my screen, and let me get rid of that one. Okay, all right. So when we're processing email, really, really quickly, and this is about, again, clearing your space so it's nice and tidy and clear, but it's also so you don't have a backlog of work to return to. So when we're processing email, we have 4 key Ds that drive our decision making. And so you batch process email. So if you're doing your pre-Christmas cleanup or your pre-break cleanup or your post-major project cleanup, then these are the things that you need to do to get it clear, and then apply these every single day after that. So the first one is that you delete anything that is not relevant to you. Just get rid of it and get it out of your space. The second thing that that you do is you delegate anything that isn't for you. It's actually for someone else. So get rid of it, get it out of your space. And of course, you know, what you should do is actually action those kind of things immediately that they come in, because it's unfair to delay it and then give it to someone else. So when we're cleaning up our email, this is what we apply. So whether it's you've got a big backlog that you want to tidy up because, as I said, you're going on a break or something like that. Otherwise, you know, you do it every single day. All right. So I am just checking my comments. Wow, Darren's working really long hours. Okay, so this might help. So with our email, we delete anything that's not relevant. Second, we delegate anything that's not actually for us. The third thing, we do anything that only takes a short amount of time. So if you can action it, you can respond to it, you can, you know, make a note of it, whatever needs to happen, do the task and complete it in, you know, 5 minutes or 7 minutes. Just do it and get it done. And then the final thing is to diarize, and that's for bigger pieces of work. So if an email, you know, is there and it requires, you know, an hour of your time, then put it in your calendar to do that piece of work, and set time aside. Now, because you're going on holidays, you will set some time aside in your calendar, you know, in future if it's still going to be relevant on your return. So those are the things. So this is about our email, but equally, you know, you could apply these principles to cleaning out your paper files as well. Delete what you don't need, delegate what needs to go to someone else, do the things that are quick, and diarize time to do the things that are bigger and chunkier and will take more of your time. And so that's how I want you to just, you know, clear out your email. I've been doing it myself this morning. You know, if you can clear that out, then you don't come back to this kind of backlog, which already puts you behind. So in terms of setting you up for a return to work, it's really key, you know, to get that clear working space. So that's one of the first tips is just generally tidy up, you know, tidy up your workspace, electronic and physical. And in particular, focus on that inbox and clear it out, you know, and take action on the things that you need to. I'm just looking at my notes. One other thing that I notice, particularly when I'm working with leaders, is they have a reading pile or a reading folder of all the things that they want to read. And that's great. But this is also an ideal time to go through that folder and get rid of anything that realistically you're not going to get to. If it's been there for 3 months and you haven't read it, get rid of it. Or put it in a folder that, should you ever need it, you can refer to. But let's be honest, you can probably Google it again and it's quicker. So clear out your reading folder or your reading pile and get rid of the things that are old. I remember in the good old days, in my productivity consulting days, I would go into people's offices and they would have like magazines, you know, with dust on the top. And so, you know, it was great intention, but they never actually got to it. And so all that does is overwhelm you and crowd you with, oh, I really must get to that reading pile. So just keep the things that are super important, super relevant, and get rid of the rest. Okay, so that's kind of the clean up, tidy up space, which I said we were going to focus on. But there's a couple of other things to help you keep it like that while you're on your break or having downtime. The first one is to make sure that you have your out of office set up correctly on your email. And so that's about actually giving really clear instructions to people about what you want them to do, not just I'll be out of the office and I'll look at my email in 3 weeks' time. If you need them to do something rather than just wait for you to respond, then let them know that. So direct them to someone else to contact, for example, or let them know that you won't be looking at any of your email and that they need to resend it in 3 weeks' time. All right. So move that, so give them an action to do, so it's not an action for you to do. And so that gives you, again, when you return, you know that you can just take all of that that email that you received in that period of time and just kind of park it in a folder, and people who want to will then follow you up, and you don't need to go through it all necessarily. This is a personal choice, but if you give clarity on your out of office, then if they read it, they'll know what to do. So that's another little tip. And then the second one that goes with that, which is around making sure that you don't get overwhelmed on your return, is making sure that your voicemail that's set up on your office phone and or your mobile phone is really clear as well about the fact that you are away, you're on holidays, and you won't be returning any calls before such and such a date. And if they need to, they can contact, Mary Smith on this number. Right, so be really, give clear instructions to people so that they need to take responsibility for whatever it is that they want to happen, and it doesn't fall to you to have to action everything on your return. Is this making sense? I hope it is. Okay, so that is, I guess, the first component is tidy up everything before you go on leave. So when you come back to clear space, not cluttered space. Super important in terms of just allowing you to keep the holiday glow alive a little bit longer on your return, but also it moves you closer to the proactive space rather than the reactive space when you get back to work. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about. The second thing is when you return to work, is often what happens is if you've been away for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe even a month, is that everybody wants you when you come back. They want your time. They want you in meetings. They want your input and that sort of thing, which is lovely. But also it means that it's very hard for you, because if you don't know what's been going on in the interim in that 1, 2, 3, 4 week period, and you're asked to provide input, you don't have all the relevant up-to-date information. And so it's kind of a waste of their time and a waste of your time, because you're not providing relevant, good, useful, current insight. And so my suggestion is that before you go on leave, that you actually set time in your calendar for yourself to catch up on your return. And so the general rule of thumb is for every day that you're out of the office, you need an hour to catch up on the emails, on, the reading and that sort of thing, just to find out what's happened. So for every week, you need about half a day to catch up as a rule of thumb. And if you do that, if you put that time and you block it out in your calendar as your catch-up time on your return, people can't jump on you as soon as you get, that you return to work. Figuratively, if you're working remotely, it also means that they're not going to book meetings into that space. So you do your catch up and then you go to the meeting that's been booked, because now you're on top of, what you need. Now, it might be if you have 2 weeks off, you might be able to book that whole first day for catch up, depending on your type of role and your organisation. But if it's not, just book 2 half days on, the first 2 days that you're back, and then use the afternoons to do your meetings and your interaction, and just catch up in that way. But I think it's such an important thing, because otherwise, again, you're going to get overwhelmed as soon as you kind of are back from leave or from being away. Maybe you were seconded, or it could be any kind of reason. But when you return to your normal work, you want to have catch up time to, again, create the space to absorb what's happened, to know where everything's up to be current, so that when you do contribute, it's valid and relevant. But it also means that you avoid that feeling of overwhelm as soon as you step through the door. And so rather than being in a reactive, responsive mode, you're actually in a proactive mode, because you know what's going on before you start to participate in meetings and conversations. And so you actually can contribute in a constructive way. Hey, would love to hear how these ideas are landing for you. And none of this takes a lot of time. Do a bit of cleanup, and then book some time in your calendar for your actual proactive catch-up on your return. Only a couple of minutes. Okay, let me just check that I'm covering everything I wanted to. Now, the other thing that I want to talk to you about your calendar on your return, around planning your catch-up, is just have a look at your calendar. What's in it? Is it relevant? Do you actually need to do it? Be part of it? And is the timing appropriate in relation to your return? So if there's a meeting with your team and it's, I don't know, for a workshop, and it's the same day that you return, is that the day to have it, or should you actually push it back a couple of days? So just critically look at your calendar and make sure that it supports what needs to happen on your return, so that you've got the space to catch up, you've got the space to actually do your work, and you're not just in back-to-back meetings all the time. All right. Then, okay, so the final thing I wanted to talk about today about return to work is the delegation thing. And by delegation, what I mean is that people know what to do in your absence primarily. So if you're a leader, that if you need to normally make decisions, that authority to make decisions has been delegated to someone appropriately. If typically things get escalated to you when there's a problem, that there's clarity about who do they get escalated to when you are unavailable because you're on holidays. And so you just want to make sure that all of those sort of processes are in place and everybody knows what they are. So there's real clarity. So you've got the delegated authorities, you've got clarity on escalations, and people know the contacts, they know the actual phone numbers and all of those sorts of things. So again, when you come back, you don't get overwhelmed, and even better, when you're on holidays, you don't get interrupted, right? Because it's so important when you're taking a break that you actually take a break, and in particular this year, because we know it's been quite a year, and so really important for people to replenish. But equally, it could be you've just delivered a big project and it's time for you to have a break, and maybe, I don't know, I'll use an example. Let's say you've just done a big system implementation and you were a key party to that, and normally what happens is if there's a problem, it comes to you. If you're taking a break, you don't want to be interrupted by all of that. So other people need to be equipped to handle those problems, and everybody else needs to know that that's the other person or people that they go to with any issues or problems or situations. So the idea here is that you just want to make sure everybody knows how and when to contact the required people, so that you don't get interrupted while you're on leave and you don't have to deal with it on your return because it's already been dealt with. And so if you have the potential to even delegate things like your email, do that as well, because then you've got even less catch up. Okay. I think Darren says he's starting the email cleanup now. Yeah, super important. So those are the 3 key things that I wanted to talk to you about today in terms of actually setting yourself up for your return to work before you go on your break. Now, if you've already gone on your break, we've all got mobile devices now. As I said, take an hour, quickly clean out your email, get your calendar sorted, book in your catch-up time, and again, you'll be in a much, much better position for when you return to work after your break. Okay, let me just check. I'm just checking if there are any comments. Got a few different streams going today with LinkedIn and Facebook, so I'm just having a quick look at Facebook now, but it doesn't look like it's completely updating. There we go. Let me just check there. That looks pretty quiet. Okay, so I can see a few folks on LinkedIn, so I'd love to know from you, what are your thoughts? What's the big one for you that will make a difference in terms of these 3 key ideas of tidying up, planning your catch-up time, and making sure you've got clarity around delegation and escalation in your absence. And I think, share with the people in your teams and your peers and that sort of thing as well, because what I want is for everybody to feel comfortable going on holidays, and having a break and being out of touch, but also when they return, that they've got that clear operating space. It's not this mad scramble to catch up, and it sort of undoes all the good of the break. It's such an important thing this year in particular that people really get full value from their break. So, yeah, they're the main things for today. My next session is going to be on Sunday afternoon, and of course you don't have to watch them all live. You will be able to watch the recordings, and so it's all about replenish. And the replenish strategy is about how do I overcome surge capacity depletion, which many of us are suffering from this year. That whole, I feel more fatigued than normal. I don't have quite as much bounce. I'm really not sure how to get it back. I'm holding on by my fingernails to get to the break. And so we need to actually make sure that not only do we have a break, but that we're really, again, purposeful about our break, about how we use it, how we replenish, and again, get ourselves into a really great space to lead possibility in 2021. So if you can, join me then. So I would love to know your thoughts and comments about today's return to work ideas and how they might help you. So I can just see, I'm just going to address, actually, there's a great comment here, Shane. Working from home blends things, unfortunately. Yes, it does, particularly, I think what I've noticed is that with people when they're working from home, what they miss out on is, when we're working in the office or out of our living space, what happens is we leave, in the morning before work, and we transit somewhere, and then we start work. And so we're focused on work, and then we transit home again. And so those transitions move us from a home space and a home being into a workspace and a work being. And that's where our focus tends to be as well. So we're focused at home or we're focused at work. And so what I've noticed is that when people are working from home, they have lost the transition. And so it all does just blend together. And so one of the things that I would suggest is that you actually create a transition for yourself. So that you transition from being, at home to being at work. And whether that's about, for some people I've talked about, they've gone out through the garage, out of the house, they've walked around the house, and then they've come back in the front door, and that's been their transition, to work. And then they've done the reverse in the afternoon when they finished work, so that they've got a transition. Or they have deliberately, they've got a hard finish to their work, 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., whatever the time is, and then they go and do something else very deliberate, whether it's exercise or read or something, again, when they create a transition space, and and then it moves them from work to home. So if it's a challenge for you to create that, think about being really deliberate about how you do it and what will help you to transition from home to work and work to home. I think that's a great observation, Shane. Okay, and so Darren's also said that working from the home office makes it more challenging to gain break time. Again, it's your time, you set it up. It's your calendar, you set it up. Use a Pomodoro method. build breaks into your calendar so people can't book things over the top. Put your lunch time in, or your exercise time, or whatever it is. Be very deliberate and own it. You know what you need in order to be operating at your best. And so take control of it. Let the people around you at home know about it as well, so that they can honor it and try and support you. I think that's also incredibly valuable in helping you keep focused on when I'm at work, when I'm on break, when I'm at home, when I transition, all of those things. Let the people around you know as well, so that they can, be part of making it happen. Okay. I was about to wrap up before. I think I'll wrap up now. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments and questions, and I'll come back to you. I'll keep an eye on those. And for those of you who can come live, I'd love to see you on Sunday afternoon. I think I've got it booked in about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, but it'll pop up. If you want to get a notification, then make sure that you're following me on LinkedIn or Facebook, or even YouTube, and you'll get that as well. And you can jump onto the session. It's episode 2 is going to be replenish. It's all about how to use your break to really replenish, to really refill your own cup, and set you up to bring your energy and focus to your leadership and to your whatever you're doing in 2021. So bye for now. Really appreciate you spending your time with me today, and good luck with getting set up for your return to work.